Hey folks, welcome to PlayBranson, the show where you get to know Branson's entertainers better. I'm your host Chris Meyer, and today's episode is brought to you by iBranson.com. It's the place where you can find the latest Branson show schedules and attraction information. So be sure to go to iBranson.com. On today's show, we have Michael Frost, and he is with a slew of shows in Branson. I don't know how he does it, and so we're looking forward to talking to him and getting the latest updates on what is going on in his world. Now, every so often I tell you about our magazine, PlayBranson. This is a free magazine located all over town in racks, and you'll want to be sure to pick this up because this really tells you everything that's going on, everything to do in Branson. And I tell you what, they're flying off the racks. There's not going to be many of them left. So if you like to collect stuff, this is a great to collect as well. And be sure to pick that up. We'll be right back with Michael Frost here on PlayBranson. Stay tuned.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need iBranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at iBranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. iBranson.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to PlayBranson, and on today's show, I have Michael Frosty Frost.
Hello.
So, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be back.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute, yeah.
And I said earlier in the opening that I think you might be the hardest working entertainer in town.
Well, I doubt that, but I do a lot of shows here in town for sure.
And I think I missed some, and so you're in 5 different shows. Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
And so let's just, before we get into all the shows and talk about them, let's just tell people what shows you're in.
Of course.
You're in America's Top Country Hits.
America's Top Country Hits at the Americana Theater.
Yep. And then you're also in C.J. Newsome's.
Yes, C.J. Newsome's Classic Country and Comedy, which is also at the Americana Theater.
Yep. Number 1 hits of the 60s.
Number 1 hits of the 60s at Clay Cooper Theater. That's a 2 p.m. show. Then in the morning time, I am part of Smoke on the Mountain or Sanders Family Christmas, and that is at the IMAX Theater, the little Opry Theater at the IMAX complex. That's a 10 a.m. show. And then a 5 p.m. show is Back to the Bee Gees at Hamner's Variety Theater.
Yeah. Whew, that is a lot of shows.
Yeah, and, not all in one day, though.
Yeah. How many in a week, how many is that normally?
I believe sometimes it adds up to 17 or 18 a week.
Okay.
I think.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that. You got to have a good calendar. That's all I got to say. Okay, let's take people way back in your musical career and tell people how you got into this business and your journey.
Well, I grew up in East Tennessee, a little town called Rogersville. And Rogersville is very close to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people are probably familiar with Pigeon Forge. It's a whole lot like Branson.
Right.
And so I moved there in my 20s. And I'd always sang. I had always performed throughout my high school years, my childhood, always sang gospel music, traveling around with my family, doing theater shows in school and that sort of thing. But in my 20s, I moved to Pigeon Forge to pursue a performing career full time. And I was cast in a show called The Miracle. And that was a show about the life of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And they brought a beautiful lady in 2007 to play the role of Martha. I was playing John the Baptist. And so I met Jen, who's my wife. Actually baptized her 9 times a week in the show. That's how we met.
That's pretty funny.
It is. And so Jen and I continued to perform in Pigeon Forge. And eventually she got a phone call to perform at Sight and Sound here in Branson. And that was around 2011 or 12.
Okay.
No, it was a little later than that. I got my dates all crazy. Mm-hmm. I think it was 2014 that we actually made the move from Pigeon Forge to Branson. And she, of course, worked for Sight and Sound. And I just had to put myself out there and start auditioning. And eventually I started to have some doors open for me. And now it's going on 10 years here in Branson. And I've been blessed to perform in some wonderful shows, and am going to continue to try
Yeah.
to do so as long as the good Lord will let me.
Yeah. So let's go back a little ways, because you talked about growing up, your family was in the business, and so there was you guys had a Southern gospel group, correct?
Right. All of my family, my dad, my mom, my uncles, my cousins, they all weren't professional singers, but that was just what they did. And so eventually in my teenage years, we had a family band called the Frost Family Band. And that included myself, cousins, my uncle. He booked us on a lot of professional gigs. And we traveled all over the Southeast, and we played churches and festivals and fairs and all kinds of wonderful things. So that's where I really developed a love for performing.
Yeah.
And just wanted to take it a step further, which is why I ended up in Pigeon Forge to try to get into some of the professional shows, which thankfully I was able to do eventually.
So what point in your life did you say, I want to make this a career?
I knew that I loved to sing. I knew that I loved to make that connection with the audience. I'm also a songwriter and a gospel songwriter. And so there's a passion that you have, there's a drive that you have when you know you love something so much. And I just knew this is what I wanted to do with my life. In fact, I've known it since I was very small, 4 or 5 years old. I can look back at like old photographs my mom has, and I always have a microphone in my hand, or play a guitar, or something like that. So it's just something that I've known that I wanted to do, and didn't at that age exactly know how I would be able to do it. But it's been a few years now, and the good Lord's allowed me to be a full-time singer, and I just can't imagine doing anything else. I don't know how to do anything else, really.
Well, and you're doing good, because you're obviously in 5 different shows, and so that says really well, speaks really well of you, that so many shows want you in them, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Your family, though, like your wife and your daughter now are in kind of your own little group as well.
Yeah, so I've always continued to do the gospel music thing, even if it's kind of been on the side. And so now our daughter, who is 13 years old, her name is JL, she has really learned to hear those harmony parts and just jump right in there and sing them very well. So Jen and I, along with our daughter, have been singing as a family trio now for a little while. And we've done a recording as well. And we're just very happy with the blend, and there's nothing that gives me more joy than singing with my family.
Yeah.
And singing in harmony and singing the gospel songs. I just love that so much.
Tell people the website where they can go find out about your family group.
It's frosttrio.com, and you can go on there and listen to all of our sound clips. We have a couple of brand new CDs. One came out a couple of years ago and one that came out just this year. And we're even in the talks of putting together our own gospel show that may happen in 2024 here in Branson.
Okay. So that's a little tidbit of maybe happen that you're hearing probably first here on PlayBranson. So we'll see if it comes to fruition.
Yes.
And we know there's a lot of details that have to go into making that happen.
Exactly. So it may or may not, but it's definitely something that we're working toward.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's talk about songwriting.
Yeah.
Because you had a song that went to #1 on Southern Gospel that you wrote, right?
I did. It was a song called Choose Life. It was a song recorded by a very popular Southern gospel group called the His Songs. And in 2019, they released that song, and it went all the way to #1 in the Singing News magazine for them. So that was something I was very thrilled about, because I mentioned earlier that gospel music is a very strong love of mine. And I've been writing gospel songs since I was a teenager. And so I've had a few cuts along the way. Some great Southern gospel artists, like a lot of people have probably heard of the McCameys, Ivan Parker, the His Songs, of course, Dixie Melody Boys. I've been blessed to have a lot of wonderful Southern gospel artists to record some of my music.
That's awesome.
And so to see one, do that well was absolutely a thrill for me.
I think that's awesome. And here's the deal. Singing News is really the the standard when it comes to Southern gospel. There is nothing else but that magazine. Like, and maybe there is something else, but that's the magazine.
Yeah, it's been around for many
Southern
years.
gospel,
Yeah.
and they're very supportive of Branson. And they come out during the Southern Gospel Festival out at Silver Dollar City, and they hang out here for like a week or two.
Yeah.
And they actually this year they did a lot of live recordings, which I didn't even know they did that, and so they're big.
Yeah,
in
Southern Gospel is a big presence, of course, in East Tennessee and Pigeon Forge, and of course here in Branson.
Yeah.
Southern Gospel is a big presence as well, and the Singing News really does help support that. Yep. So it was an honor to have my little name in there as a songwriter.
I love it. I love it. Hey, folks, we're going to stop right here. We're going to come back and talk more about all these shows he's in just a second. Going to Branson for some relaxation and fun? You've got to stay with Branson's award-winning hotel family, Meyer Hotels. Meyer Hotels features 5 hotels in Branson with the best locations for your trip. Choose from brands you know and trust, like the Holiday Inn Express on Green Mountain Drive, the Best Western Music Capital Inn, the Best Western Centerpoint Inn, Comfort Inn at Thousand Hills, and the Comfort Inn and Suites. Enjoy refreshing indoor pools and hot tubs. Do you like free? How about a free hot breakfast each morning? Free vacation planning services, and of course, smiles are always free. Want even more value? Go to MeyerHospitality.com and join our e-club to save 15% off your next stay and check out incredible deals with our vacation packages. Call 1-877-FUN-STAY to book Branson's award-winning hotels or visit MeyerHospitality.com. It's your safe choice for award-winning lodging in Branson. MeyerHospitality.com. Hey folks, welcome back to the show, and on today's show I have Michael Frosty Frost.
Hi.
And if you listen to the last episode, or the last segment, we talked about 5 shows you're in, and so I want to focus in on this America's Top Country Hits show.
Yes.
And so tell people about this show.
America's Top Country Hits is at the Americana Theater. It's 3 times a week, 8 p.m., Monday nights, Wednesday nights, and Saturday nights. Now, this is a concert-style show. So we have 4 singers and a band. It includes myself, my wife, Jen, and the husband and wife team of Josh and Hillary Carroll.
Okay.
And Josh kind of hosts the show. He's a hoot. He's so much fun, brings so much energy to the show. We have Forrest Herzog, who is the recent Instrumentalist of the Year, who plays so many instruments in the show and also sings. We have Rick Inman as drummer, and of course Josh Carroll plays all kinds of instruments too and just tears up the guitar. But it is so much fun, and this is our 2nd season, and we have already made it into the top 10 shows on TripAdvisor.
That's tough to do.
In Branson, it's very tough to do, and it's because people have really been showing us some love and support going on there and giving us great reviews. The show just takes you on a journey from the very early beginnings of country music and goes up through 60s, 70s, and 80s music, 90s, of course, and we do kind of medleys of country hits through the years, and we put a little bit of information on the screens about the artists who originally recorded the music as well, and it's just a big party. There's also a dance floor.
I saw that you guys had a dance floor, and I was going to ask you about that, so people can get up and dance.
Yes, and that's very much encouraged because a lot of this style music, you know, is dance, you know, dance hall kind of music when you're doing the 2-step or line dancing or that sort of thing, and that's very much encouraged. And people do. They take advantage of the beat, and they get up and they go for it, and it's awesome. We have such a great time in that show, and I want everybody to come and check it out. This is our 2nd season, so 2024 will be our 3rd season, and it's going so good, so much better than we actually anticipated.
So I have a neighbor, and he's been to it like I think 2 or 3 times already, and he's like, Chris, this is one of the best shows in town.
Oh, that's cool.
And so he loves it. I have not been able to get there yet myself, but I'm hearing good things about it.
Awesome.
And you know, this show kind of came. You used to have Rating the Country Vault. And it kind of, like, that kind of went away, and this kind of replaced that, right? I mean, kind of.
Well, Rating the Country Vault that name was owned by someone else.
Right.
And so eventually that producer, I think, maybe went back to Vegas or wherever he was from, and of course took that brand with him. And so the producer at the Americana, which of course is Mr. Chris Newsom, said, you know, we still would love to keep a country show. Can we do something and make it our own? And Josh Carroll took the reins. He's the music director, and we rebuilt an entirely a new country show. You know, it's mostly a whole new set list, very different from what the Country Vault was, of course. But we still do all the artists that people, I believe, want to hear. You know, Conway Twitty, Loretta Lynn, Patsy Cline, Hank Williams Jr. We put in some Chris Stapleton. You know, some more modern sounds as well. So it's a blast.
So what are some of the feature songs you're doing in that show?
Well, I do some Conway Twitty. I sing "It's Only Make Believe." That's one of my bigger features. I do Chris Stapleton, Tennessee Whiskey.
Tennessee Whiskey, yeah.
My wife and I sing a couple of duets. We do Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man. You know, some Conway and Loretta. We do some Kenny and Dolly, Islands in the Stream.
Yeah.
Of course, Josh and Hillary also sing some duets as husband and wife. And we have in the show probably one of the most unique segments, I think, of any show in Branson. It's a sing-along. And we literally just unplug, we take stools, we sit down front, we turn the house lights up, and we just do 10 or 15 minutes or longer of just songs that we think the audience just might want to sing along to. And they do, and they join right in, and sometimes they shout requests at us, and it just becomes like you're sitting in your living room with a house of fans. And so they just
fun.
Sing along and clap along, laugh.
Yeah.
Josh Carroll's a hoot, you know, and we all play off of his humor as much as we can, and it's something I look forward to all the time. Yeah.
I want to go to another show. I want to go to Back to the Bee Gees, which is totally different.
Completely different.
And so let's talk about that show as well.
Love to.
What is the show about?
Okay, James Allen and Stephen Odom produced that show. They've been friends of mine for a long time, so they called me up in 2020 and said, hey, we're writing this Bee Gees show, would you like to be a part of it? And so I jumped on board, and we debuted in 2021 at Hamner's Variety Theater, and that's a 5 p.m. show, and it has just grown exponentially. I mean, our numbers have tripled, I believe.
Wow.
And the show is a tribute to all the music of the Bee Gees. We're not impersonators.
Right.
You know, we don't dress up or put on wigs or anything like that. We don't try to be either one of them. We just are ourselves. We sing in our own voices, and we try our best to pay tribute to their amazing catalog of music. And we try to cover all the big hits. You know?
And the Bee Gees had, I mean, when I was a little kid, the Bee Gees were big, and that was, you know, Night Fever and Staying Alive and all of that. So if you think about that generation, those people are probably 50, 60 now?
Maybe so.
You know, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
And so people tend to forget that the people in their 50s and 60s really grew up with rock and roll and pop today. And so
we got so many people who tell us after the show that you took me back to my teenage years. You know, this was the song I fell in love with my, you know, spouse. This is what we used at our wedding. You know, the Bee Gees was the soundtrack of my life. Is what we hear people tell us a lot. And so that's what it's all about, is trying to bring back memories and, you know, nostalgia.
Yeah. Now there's not very many shows that are at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so that's a unique time frame.
And it has worked.
Yeah.
It really has. It still gives people a chance to go to dinner, even check out a night show at 8 p.m. So it's a great time. And we found, you know, it was a little questionable at first. Will this work? And we found that it truly does.
Yeah, and it has to work with all your other schedules too, because you probably are doing an 8 o'clock show after that somewhere else.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah. Now you're also in C.J. Newsom's country and comedy, so let's talk briefly about that, and then we're about out of time.
Okay. Yeah, C.J. Newsom, of course, headlines the show, and she's one of the very few female headliners in Branson, which I think that's remarkable. She's a very gifted yodeler, and and of course Terry Wayne Sanders is the comedian. And then I'm able to come out and sing 4 or 5 features during the show. And I love classic country. You know, growing up in East Tennessee, that was obviously a big part of my musical background too. So
and we've had both CJ on the show, although it's been a long time, and I think she actually yodeled on that show.
Yeah.
So folks, if you want to see that, you're going to have to go way back and see if you can find that out there on YouTube. And then Terry's been on here, but it's been a long time as well. So lots of different shows going on. You're also in the #1 hits of the 60s. That's over at Clay Cooper's, and you're doing all sorts of 60s music there.
Love that. This is going to be my 9th season going into #1 hits of the 60s, and very proud to be a part of that. Amber Campbell and Matt Mahobarak have just been great to have me in all these years, and that show just never gets old. You know, it's a complete and total blast.
I'll just be honest with you. I don't know how you memorize so much stuff, because you're memorizing songs, you're memorizing choreography. Like, you got to have like a super brain. That's all I got to say.
No, I don't always remember it all.
You know. So, hey, folks, be sure to go check out Michael Frost at one of those 5 shows that he's in. It's hard to cover them all in such a short time, but good to have you back on the show again.
Thank
and
you.
Tell people your personal family website one more time.
We're the Frost. It's actually just frosttrio.com. Look us up. Check our music out. We also take bookings for churches in the off season. So give us a shout out online or on our Facebook page or on email. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So folks, if you have an event, maybe back at your own home or church or whatever, because I did see you've got stuff booked in January around the country. So
yes, we do.
Yep. So anyway, folks, we'll be back in just a second to wrap the show up.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need iBranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at iBranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. iBranson.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to Play Branson. Our guest this week was Michael Frost. You know, he's with America's Top Country Hits, and that is actually going through the end of the year on select dates in December, typically Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Their last show will be December 29th. Now, he's also in #1 hits of the 60s. That's at 2 p.m. on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Their last date is December 14th. He's also in Back to the Bee Gees, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 5 p.m. Their last show will be December 29th. Now, I probably missed a show that he was in, but those are some of his main shows. Next week, we will welcome back Wayne Massengill. It's been a while since he's been on, but he's got something new going, and so we want to talk to him about that. Now, here's the deal. If you're watching and you're sitting at home and you have not been to Branson this Christmas season, there's still time to plan your Ozark Mountain Christmas vacation. So be sure to go to iBranson.com or call 1-877-ENTERTAIN. You can find the latest show schedules, attractions, and lodging options on iBranson.com. The phones are answered by local Branson people. So there's still time to get here before the end of the season. Now, we always mention, go to our social media, follow us on Facebook or YouTube, subscribe to our Play Branson channel. We'd love to have you as part of that. Folks, you've been watching Play Branson. And here's the deal. We give you this information about shows and what's going on. And once again, New Year's Eve is a big night for shows in Branson. And we've got several that are going to be doing special events. I've got the Clay Goods. That's a combination of Clay Cooper and the Hay Goods. That's their Jamber Eve show. The Hamners New Year's Eve Fiesta Party. The Legends in Concert New Year's Eve Celebration. $1 Million Quartet has a show. Reza has a show. The Showboat Branson Bell. Anthems of Rock. The Amazing Acrobats of Shanghai, and the Americana New Year's Eve show as well. There are lots of other shows going on throughout the day, but those are all evening or late evening shows. So go see one. Music's always better live, so go see some live music this week. That's it for today. We'll see you next week on Play Branson.